Hello everybody, this is Kathleen Sproul and you are watching a One Moment Center video. One Moment Center is all about mindfulness-based approaches for well-being, self-discovery, and healing. So today I actually am making this video because tomorrow I won't be able to teach a mindfulness practice session that is an ongoing practice session every Sunday evening at Imbue Yoga in Minneapolis. And so what I decided to do instead was pre-record this, so it is not live, but I wanted to pre-record this video so that anybody who usually comes to the practice session can still have something to use on Sunday evening or whenever you'd like, and also for anybody who wants to check out a session without actually going to the session to see if it's for you. And I totally get that. I'm the same way. I like to get a little taste of something before I dive all the way in. So the practice session that I'm doing right now is called Awaken Arrive. And so I'll explain a little bit about what that means and why it's called Awaken Arrive and what that has to do with mindfulness. And then I'm going to take you through some of the parts of what we would do in that class. The one part that I'm not going to do is mindful movement. So I'm not going to demonstrate any of that in this video, but I will let you know when we would normally do it, and you can choose to do some mindful movement on your own, whether that be some very intentional stretching, if you know how to do Qigong, or there are yoga poses that you really enjoy and benefit your practice, or even some movement like walking and using mindfulness in your walking. You can add that movement into your session. It's your practice, so do what works for you or try something out to find out if it works for you. I'm all about discovering what works for you. What works for me doesn't necessarily work for you, and what works for other people doesn't necessarily work for the rest of the world. So finding our own practice is key, and what works for us, where we are in our own evolution and transformational stages. So that being said, I'll tell you a little bit about Awaken Arrive and mindfulness. And then we'll do a grounding practice, and I would do something very similar at the beginning of a session, of Awaken Arrive session. And then I'll actually talk some about one of the topics that I talk about during Awaken Arrive. We go through several different topics. Most of them are based on Jon Kabat-Zinn's Pillars of Mindfulness. And then I also add some others in to the rotation, like equanimity, authenticity, self-compassion, finding refuge in self or in community. So today I'm going to talk about non-judgment, and I'll tell you more about that why in a little bit here. But then after that, that's when we would normally do movement, and I'll let you know that that's what I would normally do at that time. And then we'll do another meditation at the end. It'll be guided at the beginning, and then at the end, it'll be a silent meditation. So you don't have to remember any of this. I just want you to know it's coming your way. And again, I want to thank you so much for being here and trying this out with me. Okay. Oh, one other housekeeping item. I am in my home right now, and so that door right there it goes out into the main area of my house. And my cat may or may not come in. Her name is Yoki. And I left the door slightly ajar because if any of you have cats, you might be able to relate to this. If I close the door, she will yowl nonstop. But if I leave the door open, just having the choice to come in often is good enough for her. So if she comes in, she will be in here and probably pretty quiet. And otherwise, just keeping it ajar might be enough for her to let us do our own practice. So I just wanted to let you know that it's a possibility, and we can use that into our mindfulness practice. Anything that's going on, no matter where you are, can be a part of your mindfulness practice. And here's why. Because mindfulness is just about being here, now, present moment, non-judgmentally. That's it. Just being aware of our experience. Witnessing and observing our experience, whether that's our thoughts, our emotions, our physical reactions and sensations, our belief systems, and then finding those interesting, right? Being able to notice them and be curious about them. in a non-judgmental way. And that's actually the topic that we're going to go with today, is non-judgment, and I'll tell you more about that later. But part of why we're going to use non-judgment today as our topic is because it's part of the definition of mindfulness. And if you've read Jon Kabat-Zinn's Full Catastrophe Living, and actually I have it right here on the shelf, Non-Catastrophe Living, or Full Catastrophe Living, pardon me, by Jon Kabat-Zinn. So he talks about the 7 pillars of mindfulness in here, and MBSR, mindfulness-based stress reduction. And it's a great book. As you can see, it's pretty thick, but it's definitely worth it if you're looking to deep dive into mindfulness. So Jon Kabat-Zinn, in his definition of mindfulness, he uses non-judgmental. So having a non-judgmental attitude, having a non-judgmental stance. And so that's why I chose to use that today in the session that I'm sharing with you guys in a video, so you can use it whenever you want. The non-judgmental is part of mindfulness. It's part of the definition of mindfulness, and that's why it's so important. And that's what we'll be talking about today. That's the lesson in the Awaken Arrive session today. So Awaken Arrive. Why is it called Awaken Arrive? Awaken Arrive, and it's awaken, not awake and arrive. Awaken and arrive. So mindfulness helps us wake up, and it helps us be here now, arriving in this moment. When we can use mindfulness to be aware of our experience, witnessing our experience, our thought, like I said, our thoughts, our emotions, our physical sensations, our beliefs, our reactions, our quick judgments, when we can use mindfulness to be aware, we have the opportunity to wake up. Otherwise, we're most of the time living life pretty asleep. And I can totally relate to this. I do the same thing. It's part of most of our human existence right now, is that we are busy people. We have a lot of obligations and a lot of things that we need to tend to and take care of, and relationships that we need to also tend to and have obligations with. So we're pretty busy most of the time. And we're also in autopilot, what I call autopilot, meaning we just go through the motions and we're not really being mindful. We're not intentionally paying attention to anything when we're in autopilot. And I don't know if you've had this experience of driving somewhere, like to work or to the grocery store, and you get there and you don't really remember the drive there, but you somehow got there, right? We're in autopilot. We're mindlessly moving through life, or just going on to the next thing without really even being with the first thing. And so when we're in autopilot, we're not awake, we're asleep. And when we're asleep, we miss out. We really do. We miss out on the opportunities to fully connect with life, to fully connect with the oneness that connects all of us. We're asleep to our purpose. We're asleep to inspiration. We're asleep to our inner wisdom trying to get our attention, to get us to pay attention to what we need to do to be living our lives of service and on purpose. So that's why Awaken is part of the title of this session, this ongoing practice session, because mindfulness wakes us up. Mindfulness, and I won't get into all of it, there's all sorts of articles out there, and if you go to any of my workshops, I definitely dive deep into some of these. But mindfulness, the practice of mindfulness, and there are many ways to practice mindfulness. When we practice mindfulness, we actually change our brain. The parts of our brain that are in control of attention, compassion for ourselves or others, emotion regulation, managing stress, and neuroplasticity, meaning we have a more open mind, we can think more flexibly. So when we are practicing mindfulness, all those parts of our brain and then some come to life. And the more we do it, the more we're able to live our life awake in the day-to-day. So we practice mindfulness so that in the day-to-day life, we can be more awake more often instead of asleep and in autopilot and not paying attention. And this, to me, is critical. And take or leave any of this, but this is part of why I even teach and guide mindfulness and why I love bringing it to the world, because it's been such a huge game changer for me. And what I hope that you also experience in your own way and in your own time and your own transformational process. And I will just feel blessed if I get to be there along with you in any part of that. But what I hope that you discover is what I discovered, which is that mindfulness practices, and living each day as awake as possible means I have been more and more in touch with this thing that we call our inner wisdom, or our guiding system, or our intuition, or our inner knowing, our natural knowing, our authenticity, our core essence, whatever you want to call it, this guiding system that's within us. A lot of us have shut this down over time because of the world that we happen to live in right now, and I won't get into that. I talk about it a lot in other workshops and courses, but a lot of us have been really taught to live asleep in this way. We're living from the head up, and we've disconnected from the neck down, so that we're not connected with our emotions and our body sensations, which all have purpose. All of our emotions have purpose, and they're there to guide us. It's our inner wisdom keeping us in line and on our path, on Dharma, with our truth, with living life on purpose and being of service. And when we are in touch with the authentic self, or that inner wisdom, it is always in line with love. And when we're in autopilot, we're very often in fear. We're in this place of what ifs, and not feeling good enough, and feeling limited, and like there isn't enough out there for us. We're living in worries about the future and regrets of the past. And that's very normal for our human brain to do that. But when that's taking charge and we're attached to that without even realizing, we don't experience the moment. And the moment, right now, and right now, and then right now, that's when we experience what keeps us in line with our truth. That's what keeps us awake. So mindfulness keeps us awake to our true self, to our purpose, to our passion, our authenticity. And I hope that that's what you're able to experience as well, is that the more you engage in mindfulness, the more you'll find that. And I'll say that when I started doing mindfulness practices, that is not what I was trying to get out of it. I didn't even know that that was a possibility, but it's something that came my way, and it's been so amazing and earth-changing, or I shouldn't say earth-changing, earth-shattering, life-changing for me, absolutely. And so I hope that that's, that you find something like that for yourself, to live awake. And arrive, the reason why I say arrive is because mindfulness is about being in this moment, arriving in this moment, arriving in this moment, arriving in this moment. So awaken, arrive. Okay? So let's do our opening practice. So I'm going to walk you through this, and all I ask is that you find yourself in a comfortable position where you can have an upright spine and an open breathing tube. If you want to lay down, absolutely go for it. I generally encourage folks not to lay down because we might fall asleep. I usually do. If I try to do meditation falling asleep or laying down, I'll fall asleep or doze off and not even realize it. And so I actually encourage you to sit up if you can. So whether that's on a cushion, I don't know if you can see in the video or not, but I have a little cushion that I'm sitting on. It's a Zazen cushion. And so I'm kind of forward on that. I'm on the front third of it so that my legs are actually going down a little bit, and it helps encourage my spine to be upward. If you're sitting in a chair, maybe sit on the edge of your chair, and that will help prevent us from slouching or leaning in ways that crunch up our breathing tube in our chest. So find a comfortable position, whatever works for you. Nice upright spine, tall spine, open breathing tube. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes, go ahead and do that. I'm going to keep my eyes open, but clearly I can't see you because this is a video. But keep your eyes open. If you want to, you could gaze through something neutral as if you're looking through it, or close your eyes if you are comfortable in doing that. So as we get comfortable here, finding your nice, tall spine, comfortable seating position, just take a moment to notice your breathing. And that's all we're doing, is we're just noticing the breathing. I'm not asking you to change it in any way. Just want you to notice the breath that you brought with you. And just ask yourself some questions, noticing if your breath is shallow or deep, if it's long or short. Noticing if you're breathing from your chest or your abdomen. Just noticing the breath that you brought with you to your practice right now. No need to analyze it or question it. Just notice the in and the out of your breath. And now let's notice our thoughts. Just bringing your attention to your mind. You might notice generally if your mind is optimistic or pessimistic. If it keeps focusing on certain tasks that need to get done or things from the past or the future. Just noticing that, just observing your mind. And doing our best to notice our thoughts like clouds in the sky or leaves in a stream. Notice they're there and let them pass by. And then the same with our emotions, just noticing any emotions that might be going on inside of you right now. There might be a dominant emotion, or there might be several emotions kind of swimming around in there. It's okay to label them. And it's okay to notice if they're pleasant or unpleasant. But beyond that, just allow them to be there. Being aware that they're there and allowing them to be. They might start to shift on their own as you bring awareness to them, and we can allow that as well. We don't want to cling to them or try to make them change. Our emotions have purpose and information just like any other sense that we have. And now let's come back to the breath. And now let's intentionally slow our breath down just a little. Maybe let the breath be longer. Longer inhale and a slower exhale. Relaxing the shoulders, softening the face. As you breathe in, push down on the diaphragm so that your belly comes out. As you exhale, feel your belly come back in towards the spine. Keeping the chest as still as possible, using this diaphragmatic or belly breathing. Just staying with the breath. Maybe on each inhale, say to yourself, I arrive. I arrive. I arrive. And just gently allowing yourself to come back to the space that you're in. And congratulations, you've practiced mindfulness, being aware of your experience as it is right now, non-judgmentally. So like I was saying, the topic that I wanted to talk about today is that non-judgmental attitude, that non-judgment mindset. And that's exactly what we practiced. We do that at the beginning of every Awaken Arrive session. It might be slightly different, but that's generally how it goes. And you'll notice that I didn't ask you to do anything until the very end, when I was trying to get us to a place of actually slowing down the central nervous system by pushing down on the diaphragm. That beyond that, I didn't ask you to do anything or analyze anything, change anything, or try to keep anything from moving. I just simply asked you to notice, to bring awareness to what your experience was in that moment. And that's all mindfulness is, right? Being here now in the present moment, non-judgmentally. And non-judgmentally being part of the definition, it's so important for us to talk about what that means. Simply put, non-judgment means it's not right or wrong, it's not good or bad. We don't have to get stuck in the should or shouldn'ts of anything. The thing is though, our brain is wired to do this, and it was super helpful for us for a long time, and it still is helpful to us humans in our day-to-day experience to be able to organize and label things and know what to do next, and to know that if I do something and it hurts, our brain goes, oh, bad, pull back, right? And so it's normal. It's a normal part of our human brain. However, when we bring mindlessness with us, and we're not aware of all of the judging going on a day-to-day basis, a moment-to-moment basis, we're not really aware of how toxic that judgment can be. We do a lot of telling ourselves, I don't like it, or it isn't okay. And that's judging. That's judging the experience. It's judging the circumstance. And if we compare this to the opposite of this, so there's judging and there's non-judging. And non-judging is kind of taking this attitude of, this is how it is right now. This is how it is right now. I don't have to change it. It's okay if I don't like it. It's okay if I do like it. This is how it is right now. Many of you have probably heard the term or the phrase, it is what it is. And some folks I've talked to really disliked this phrase because they feel like it means being passive. Like, oh, something terrible is happening in the world. People are being harmed and abused, or somebody's harming or abusing me. And well, it is what it is. So I'm passive about it. And that's not what mindfulness is about. Mindfulness is about being aware that this is what is happening right now and paying full attention to it. And noticing our experience of whatever it is as we pay full intentional attention to it. And then, like I was saying before, the part of mindfulness that helps us wake up, right? That this then helps us to decide, what are my values? What do I need to do right now so that I can move forward in a service-driven, purpose-driven way? So it's not about being passive, and I'm going to make that very clear. Mindfulness is not about being passive. Actually, mindfulness helps us take value-driven decisions and actions and behaviors and make them real. Okay? So it is what it is just simply about acknowledging that this is what it is right now. It cannot be changed right in this moment. Like, this moment is this moment, it cannot be changed. And when we can come to that place of acknowledging that this is the situation that is, what that means is that we know that all of the circumstances that led up to this point mean that it cannot be any other way. Whatever the situation is, even if we don't like it or we think it's wrong, it couldn't be any other way. This moment cannot be any other way than it is right now because of all the tiny things and decisions and that I made and that I didn't make. They're part of the circumstances outside of me. That all these tiny situations, all these circumstances led up to this point, and it cannot be anything different than it is. This is exactly as it should be. Okay? So, non-judgment takes that and allows. We can be aware and we allow it to be. If we push it away and say it shouldn't be this way, or instead of it is what it is, saying like it should be something different, it becomes stressful because we're arguing with reality. And whenever we argue with reality, we suffer. It's stressful. It feels bad. It feels terrible. And so noticing that, right, that it's calling our attention that if we're stressed out and it's feeling terrible, we're arguing with reality. And so when we come back to this place of non-judgment, right, coming back to non-judgment, this attitude of non-judgment, we allow things to be as they are. We have less stress in our life. Doesn't mean that we don't learn. It doesn't mean that we don't decide to do anything differently moving forward, but we can acknowledge and allow what is right now. Another part of this that I want to bring up is that we practice non-judgment in meditation, or whatever it is that you're doing. If you're doing mindful eating, or if you're doing mindful walking, or mindful communicating, judgments are going to come up. So it's not even necessarily about like right away being able to not have any judgmental thoughts like this is bad or this is stupid or this is wonderful or, you know, whatever the judgments, I like it, I don't like it, whatever it is. We're going to notice judgmental thoughts coming up, and that's part of our brain doing what our human brain is supposed to do. So it's about not attaching to it, right? And we practice that in our opening meditation. We practiced noticing our thought, allowing it to be there, letting it go. Non-judgment. Allow it to be there, let it go. We don't have to analyze it. And this can actually become judging our judging if we're not careful, right? So, or if I'm like, oh, I just thought about how something is really bad, and oh no, I'm doing the wrong thing, and I shouldn't be thinking that way, right? So when we do that, we're really stuck in judging our judging. So we want to just be careful of that when we're practicing non-judgment, that you're going to notice that it's there, and that's okay, because the whole point is to notice that it's there, and then be able to ask ourselves in a loving, inquisitive way, wow, what is that like? When I'm saying this is terrible, or I can't stand this, or I can't do this, or this shouldn't be happening, what is that like? Isn't that interesting? And what's that like? Right? So being able to use that self-loving attitude towards ourselves when we notice the judging, or even just being able to simply be aware of how toxic it is, right? How toxic the judgmental thoughts are, because they resist reality and they cause suffering. So that's what non-judgmental is about. So when we talk about paying attention on purpose in a particular way, non-judgmentally, that's what we mean. Bringing that non-judgmental attitude. Nothing is right or wrong, good or bad. It is what it is in this moment, and it cannot be any different in this moment. When we arrive in this moment and allow it to be what it is, we do not suffer. Okay? So that's the lesson on non-judgment. And I don't have like a sheet that I read off of. I don't have like bullet points in front of me somewhere hiding on a wall behind the camera. So all of this is really just coming from what I'm intuitively feeling like needs to be shared today with you or whoever is watching this video. So I'm hoping that it is striking a chord with you in some way and helpful on your journey of mindfulness and awaken, arrive to this moment. Okay, so that being said, thank you. Now we're going to do a meditation. So if this were the Awaken Arrive session, I would actually say that, okay, let's get up and let's do some movement, and we would use the theme of that particular day. So whether it's patience or beginner's mind or trusting, authenticity, self-compassion, whatever it is, we would be using movement to really enhance our practice with that theme. So we're not going to do that in this video, but if you'd like to, you can pause and do that on your own, or you can do the meditation with us now and do some movement later, or none of the above and just hang out with the meditation and come to a session when you can. So Awaken Arrive is on Sunday evening, 6:15 in Minneapolis at Imbue Yoga Studio. You can always go to onemomentcenter.com or the Facebook page and look that up, but that's, for a different time, not right now, because we're doing our practice session. So come back to your comfortable pose or change it up, whatever you want to do. Whether you're in a chair or sitting on a cushion, again, I encourage you to sit up, not lay down, so that you don't fall asleep. And we're going to really connect with our breath right now. So I'm actually going to guide you through some things, very intentionally bringing our breath to our belly. Exhale, belly button comes back to the spine, loosening the shoulders, softening the face as we do this. And the reason we do this is because it slows down our nervous system, and instead of going into the crisis, fight, flight, freeze nervous system, we're in the rest and digest nervous system, which tells our body that we're safe and we can relax. So really doing your best now to just slow your breath down in a way that's comfortable. Having those nice belly breaths. And again, maybe using that mantra, arrive. Arrive. You can close your eyes or gaze through something, allowing yourself to go inward, fully and intentionally practicing mindfulness. So we're going to practice non-judgment. So in your meditation, I'd like you to bring to mind something maybe small or moderate in your life that brings up some feelings of not liking it, wishing it were different. Could be a relationship thing, something to do with work, not liking your home environment, or a health issue. Whatever it is, something that you just kind of mildly to moderately don't like. Just bringing it to mind and beginning to notice your thoughts around that, the thoughts about not liking it, the thoughts about it being unpleasant. And practice noticing the thoughts. Noticing them as if they're written out in front of you, or they're written on a cloud as it passes by. Notice the thoughts and start to now notice, what is it like when I think that thought? What is it like when I think this will never get better? I can't stand this person. This is so bad. What is it like? Lovingly have curiosity for yourself. And now reminding yourself that this couldn't be any other way. The circumstance couldn't possibly be any other way, given everything in your life that's led up to this point. This is exactly what it is. And this is up to you, but you might even practice imagining the circumstance, whatever it is, as if you couldn't have thoughts about it. So if you couldn't have thoughts about liking it or not liking it, thoughts about I can or I can't do this, it should or shouldn't be another way. Imagining yourself there with that person or with this ailment or this situation as if you could not have thoughts about it. Noticing that we have the power to notice, to just observe and witness. And you might even ask yourself, what is this like? To just observe and to witness. What is this like? Just letting yourself breathe into that. Bringing mindfulness, bringing non-judgment to the situation. And if you notice yourself going back to thoughts of judgment, liking it, not liking it, it's good, it's bad, I should or shouldn't, I can, I can't, whatever it might be, just allow that to be there, recognizing that those thoughts bring up emotions that have purpose, emotions that help us motivate to change or do something differently that's in line with loving ourselves or loving others, in line with our healing. Allowing that to be there without having to push it away. Non-judging. Non-judgmental stance and attitude. Okay. We're now going to transition into a silent meditation just for a couple minutes. Staying with your breath as we've already been guided to do so. Nice belly breathing, pushing down on the diaphragm. It's okay to let yourself make noise, making sighs, or hearing your breath come in through your nose. And just stay with the experience of your breath for as long as you can. And if you notice your mind wandering, which it will, non-judgmentally bring yourself back to the breath. So you don't need to beat yourself up or tell yourself you're doing bad or that you're doing it wrong. Simply noticing that you've lost track, that you're thinking, and to come back and maybe use that mantra, arrive, arrive. I'll sound the bell to start our silent meditation. Then at the end, you'll hear the same sound, and that will be your invitation to come back, and we'll close our practice. Just gently releasing your meditation and thanking yourself for being here for this practice session today. Thank you for joining me. Offering yourself gratitude for taking this time for self-caring and well-being. So we'll close our practice together. Let's bring our palms to heart center, breathing in love, breathing out love, breathing in love, breathing out love. Reminding ourselves that we are all here to heal. Meaning healing ourselves and healing others in the liberation of our own healing. That we are all students and teachers at the same time. And may the light in you reflect the light in me. And if you'd like, you can bow to Namaste. Namaste. Thank you for joining me today. I hope that this practice session was helpful for you in many ways, but also gave you a taste for how Awaken and Arrive goes. And for those who aren't able to join me on Sunday and you normally have been attending, I hope that this helps you stay on track with your practice, because I know you guys are very devoted to it, and that is so beautiful. So thank you for that, and the world thanks you as well. Again, my name is Kathleen Sproul, and this is a part of One Moment Center. And you can find One Moment Center online at onemomentcenter.com or on the Facebook page or Instagram. Check it out. There's a lot of offerings both online and in person. So workshops, retreats, practice sessions, courses, you got it. So I'm there for you. I hope I can be as of service as possible in guiding you along your mindfulness journey to your happiest self. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye, guys.